So instead of being like here, now I get my hands together and I just... Hello guys, so in this video I want to talk to you about finding the right placement on the piano. A lot of people on my YouTube channel have asked me, oh, but like I play the piano, but I don't sound like you, or you sound so full, or you are so tasteful. But a lot of it has to do with the right placements at the right time. For the right parts. In this video, I'm gonna break down a couple examples of like how you can find the right placement, because sometimes some people play very high in the octaves, some people stay very low in the octaves, and some people just there in the mid. They don't add some texture, some octaves, some lows. So for this video, I'm gonna pick the key of G, and I'm just gonna pick a progression. I don't wanna pick a song or anything, because I just wanna show the different ways that just one progression can sound different ways when I play in different placements on the keys. So I will play the 1, 5/7, to the 2, to the 4. So I'm gonna do that the whole entire time, but I'm gonna play this in different placements on the keys, and then I'm gonna try to blend all together like this was a song. But I just wanna show you guys the importance of like sometimes being in the low, sometimes being in the mid, and then sometimes being in the high. So for the first part, I'm gonna start in the lower side of the keys. And the reason why I do this, I usually typically stay here when it's just me at the beginning. Why is this? Because I also might have pads and things behind me that are very good to add that super low texture, especially when it's just the keys. So I'm gonna stay here in the low, and I probably will walk down the whole entire time. Now my 2, I'm not gonna go up here. I probably will hit my octave and go just to add that low feel to it. So you guys can see here, I'm staying here. I have some pads in. They are not too crazy, but they add that low texture to it. But I only stay here when it's just me. The majority of the time when the band comes in, when the bass comes in, then I move to my mid section and leave the bass to take the lower octaves. Play in the middle section. You bass player will appreciate it. So I'm gonna do the same chord progression, but now in this case, I'm gonna start in the low, but then I'm gonna go to my mid section, and you guys will hear a little bit of the difference. Now we're gonna move to my mid section. Now I'm gonna use this octave. So as you guys can see, I'm not using my lower, I'm staying here on my mid. It adds more feel to it. I could add, a little bit of octave. I'm just trying to show you guys the difference between playing here in the low, now playing here in my mid. You might not have a lot of the low, but that's the job of a bass player, probably the sim bass tracks and the other placements. So now we're gonna move to the high octaves. And I usually approach these octaves when it's just probably towards the end of the song. It's very like quiet, but I wanna just like add that very emotional feel to it without losing. So I'm gonna play one time on my mid and then I'm gonna move to my high and you will feel that kind of like emotion driving to it. So here we go. So now we move to the high. So you guys can see there how from here my mid section, when I move automatically to my high octave version, it feels so emotional. It feels like super calming. And like that's the approach depending on the song, again, depending on where you are with the song, then you can add that texture there. But for the final take, I'm gonna play a combination of all. I'm gonna play in the low, I'm gonna move to the high, to the middle, I'm move to the high, add some highs, maybe my low, I'll move to my mid, go back to my low. I will approach it differently, so that way you guys can see the full concept of this exercise. So here's a demonstration of how I can go from here to down here to in the middle, then back to the low, maybe press the high, do a little octave in the low. You might ask yourself, but why you playing the low, but when you playing the high, and why you stay in the mid? So my approach will be, all depends on the feel of the song, what it needs to be done. And sometimes it's like, you know, maybe you play when you play the chorus, you move a little bit more to the mid, but you still add texture to the low to again have your pads to add that low texture to it. And all depends of like if I have tracks, if I have not. But then when I move to usually the highs is when I'm trying to add texture to it. I really wanna break through the sound. I wanna be able to be noticeable when I'm playing the high stuff. But when I stay here in the mid, I can move more and be less noticeable that if I'm moving the highs and then you'll be able to hear all the tinkling. But being able to stay in the mid, add some lows, but also add some highs where you wanna really break through the sound, you wanna be heard for a part from like an octave. So when you wanna, instead of doing octaves here, if you do octaves here, or maybe higher, it breaks through the sound. So having that approach, depending on where you are, that again is whatever is the best to serve the song. So as you approach the song and as you watch this video, my highs, I wanna break through. My mid, I wanna be tasteful and be able to complement whatever is needed. My lows, usually on my breakdown points. Another approach is that it's different, and I will mention two positions. One is called open and one is called closed position. So the open one is I usually utilize that when I really wanna emphasize my lows, but I still wanna emphasize my mid and my highs. I typically do that a lot in my builds. So for example, if I want to build, instead of building here on this close position, I'll go to my lower, stay probably here, maybe higher, maybe a little bit lower, but I can be and again, that adds like that very tension to it. Maybe for like a more of like a build, like a 16 notes. Maybe an A notes, like I did. Maybe quarter notes, whatever it is, that's called the open. And again, you can do that, you know, with any song. It can be like more like full. You can feel the tension, like something is about to happen. Now, when I move to my close position, that's when I usually just try to stay within the song, but nothing too rumble. But I also want to be a little bit more tasteful. And when it comes to staying in the close position, allows me to do more beautiful chords than just create tension to it. So instead of being like here, now I get my hands together and I just again, and you can feel like, well, now it's not tension, but now it's more beautiful, more cohesive, more together. And again, you can utilize depending on what you are, because I might be playing close and I want to add maybe so it all depends of like what kind of approach you want to have and what kind of texture you want to add. I hope this video is helpful. Subscribe to the channel and I can't wait to see you soon. See you guys.